Hi, everyone. You're listening to Radio Cherry Bombe, and I'm your host, Kerry Diamond, coming to you from New York City. Today's guest is JR Ryall, the head pastry chef at Ballymaloe House in County Cork, Ireland. Ballymaloe House, some might say, was the birthplace of modern Irish cuisine. JR is also the author of the cookbook Ballymaloe Desserts, Iconic Recipes and Stories from Ireland. JR was in town to visit with friends and to do a special breakfast pop-up at King Restaurant here in New York. We talk all about the treats he made, including cakes and tarts and porridge with stewed rhubarb. If you're the kind of person who gets excited by the first rhubarb of the season, you're my kind of people. We talk about a lot of other fun stuff, from his hero, Darina Allen of the Ballymaloe Cookery School. She's one of my heroes, too. His visits with the iconic Diana Kennedy in Mexico, the power of a poached egg, and the importance of doing things that make you and others happy. Don't miss my chat with JR Ryall. Our interview was recorded at Newsstand Studios at Rockefeller Center. Today's show is presented by a cookbook, yes, Family Style by Peter Somm. I'll tell you more about the book later in the show, but it is a beautiful cookbook, and Peter is one of our favorite folks here at Cherry Bombe. If you want to stay on top of everything in the Cherry Bombe universe, definitely check out Cherry Bombe on Substack. If you're new to Substack, it's a platform where you can find all your favorite writers, essays, stories, and recipes. Head over to cherrybombe.substack.com and explore a little. You can look at it on your desktop or computer, which is my favorite way to do it, or you can download the app and check it out from your phone. Cherry Bombe has lots of free content on Substack, including recipes, newsletters, and more. We add new content almost every day, so take a look. You can also become a Substack subscriber for $6 a month or $55 per year. You'll get access to our monthly meetings and discounts on events like our upcoming Jubilee Conference. I've been writing a bit more for our Substack, which has been fun because, well, I love writing. I've been writing about my experience running restaurants and some more lighthearted stuff, like my experience making my very first crisp sandwich just in time for the upcoming St. Patrick's Day. If you don't know what a crisp is, by the way, it's a potato chip, but I didn't know that either until I visited Ireland for the first time. And apparently, over there, the crisp sandwich is a whole thing. You can read about it on tomorrow's Substack. Now, let's check in with today's guest. JR Ryall, welcome to Radio Cherry Bombe.
Thank you, Kerry. It's so good to be here. This is a pinch me moment. For me, I've been a huge fan from a distance from Ireland for the longest time. So to be in Rockefeller Center with you, thank you. This is brilliant.
It is so exciting to be sitting here with you. I think the world of you and everything you do. And one thing I didn't know about you is you were kind of a child prodigy.
I never really think of it like that, but
I might be exaggerating slightly.
I guess I got swept up in something without ever realizing or intending. I suppose for me it begins in the fact that my passion and what I get to do every day is one and the same. And I can't ever remember not wanting to cook or to eat. I slowly tiptoed into the world of food in a kind of unconventional way, but it began with meeting Darina Allen, so maybe that's what you're pointing at.
But even before that, when you were a kid, I heard that your mother wouldn't let you watch cartoons, so you would watch Darina Allen's show on TV, and you were like 4 years old or something, and you were obsessed.
Yes, so, this is the late 80s, early 90s, and where I grew up in Ireland, there were two main television channels at the time, no cable in our house, RT1 and RT2, and Darina had a prime slot with her 30-minute cookery show, and my earliest memory is watching one of the shows, and she took the entire segment to make a fruitcake. A fruitcake is a cake loaded with different dried fruits. I was just mesmerised, creaming the butter into the sugar, adding the fruit, the way she lined the tin and wrapped it in paper. Just so many things I thought, wouldn't that be fun to do? I can still picture the red bowl, just the whole thing. Her red glasses, she tipped the whiskey out of a little bottle into the fruit. It really made me think I'd love to try doing that. And so, I loved her show. It was great. And everyone in Ireland watched it. So Darina was a big deal, is a big deal. But at that time, everyone knew her. And she's the first celebrity I ever set eyes on.
She was like our Martha, right? When Martha Stewart had all her shows and everybody watched Martha on television.
Yeah, absolutely. So Darina was running the cookery school. And as soon as she started the show and everyone got to know her, it really gave her this amazing platform nationally to spread her message. And you've met Darina.
I adore Darina.
You've been to Ballymaloe, and I suppose
she sat in that very stool that you're sitting in right now.
And I hear Martha was sitting in the stool last night.
It's a lucky stool.
But watching those early shows, I absorbed some of Darina's message, which was to source out good ingredients and cook them simply. So as a kid at home, when I was allowed, when I got to, the age of 6 or 7 and suddenly I was allowed to cook, my mother always had good butter in the house and I would make cakes and cookies. And that was my thing. I was the kid who baked. And that was sort of my tiptoe into the world of learning how to cook.
Did that make you popular with other kids?
It certainly made me popular with my family. So the neighbours and relatives who'd call in, there'd usually be something I would have made for people to try. Now, my mother was also a very good baker.
I was going to ask, do you come from a family of good cooks or bakers?
I do. Well, I grew up in the countryside on a farm, so pragmatically, we cooked all our meals at home.
In Cork?
Yeah, in North County Cork.
We could be cousins. That's where some of my family's from.
Where in Cork, do you know?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I just know Cork. But I can find out.
Okay, next time we're going to go on a voyage around the county. But yeah, Mum cooked really simple food at home. And we ate well. And from my memory, all my relatives did the same. It was sort of, that was the norm. We weren't restaurant goers as such. It wasn't really the culture. So the things I would make would get eaten by the friends and family around the area. But my mother made wonderful fruitcakes and would make lovely sponges and lemon meringue pies for our birthdays. So I have memories of eating really nice, well-prepared, sweet things.
So when did you know that this could be a career?
I was encouraged, really. I was baking at home, and then I remember maybe for my 8th or 9th birthday, I was given my first baking book by an aunt of mine, and there were these really clear pictures in what you could do. So suddenly I would push the boundaries a little. I kind of cared about the shape something would have or how deep it was or maybe how the frosting looked on it. So I was getting more practice by following these recipes. And then by the time as a teenager, when people would ask me what I want to do, I actually had 2 answers at the time. I either thought I could be an architect or a pastry chef. But a lot of people tried to discourage me to be a chef because certainly at this point, in the mid-90s, considered a very working class job. There was no social media. It hadn't been glamorized. Food TV, there wasn't a huge variety in it. Very few people ever got to publish books. I remember in our local bookstore in Fermoy, the cookery section was 2 shelves. Now it's an aisle. So at that point, the potential mightn't have been seen by everyone. So even though it was something that was a passion of mine, people would often say, oh, that's lovely, but, go down the architecture road, you'll pay off your mortgage a bit quicker. But it was what I wanted to do.
Yeah. And you had a connection to Ballymaloe, right? Did someone in your family cook or teach at Ballymaloe?
Yeah. So my aunt, Evelyn, was working at the cookery school, and when I was 4, I was such a fan of Darina's show. Evelyn suggested to my mother, maybe I'll take JR on a tour of the cookery school. So Evelyn led 4-year-old me through the farm and the gardens of the school. And for anyone who hasn't been to Ballymaloe House Hotel or Ballymaloe Cookery School, I'll describe the cookery school first. It's located on a 100-acre organic farm. There's glass houses, there's a dairy, there's a Celtic maze you can get lost in. The herb garden is ravishing. Really, the landscape is extensive. So Evelyn led me through this and I was mesmerised. And at the end, she brought me into Darina's house to introduce me to her because Evelyn and Darina were friends. And Darina gifted me her cookbook at the time, which called Simply Delicious, a small paperback book. And she wrote a note inside the cover saying, for JR, who'll be a great chef when he grows up. Love, Darina Allen. March 1992. And she dated it. So I know when it happened. That's how I know I was 4. And I
got goosebumps.
I remember it so clearly. I was standing in the hall of her house. She has this lovely Victorian rocking horse that I was admiring. And it really sowed a seed with me. So I had that connection to Ballymaloe.
This was like having a fairy godmother cast a spell over you. This was your destiny.
Yeah, I met someone I was looking up to and I was so young to have that. So that really sowed a seed. So when I was a teenager and then thinking, okay, now I can start maybe exploring a little bit more about doing things, I was going to secondary school or high school and I went to a boarding school, sent to boarding school, as they say. So I lived in the school for 6 years from when I was 12 to 18. But
where was the school?
It was in East County Cork, very close to Ballymaloe.
Were they nice to you there? Were they mean?
I loved it. I had the best time and great camaraderie amongst my friends. Still some of my best friends to this day are those that I was in the school with. It was a great school. It was a very small boarding school. In the entire school, there were 260 students. 100 of us were boarders. And they actually fed us really well. which is not a story you often hear. But thinking back, I think the chef did a great job. Always a solid meal, always nutritious, bought local produce. We didn't even know that. They weren't telling us this, but he had great values around the food he cooked. So anyway, location-wise, the school was about a 15-minute drive from Ballymaloe. After doing a little bit of voluntary work experience at the cookery school, Rory O'Connell, Darina's brother, who was the head chef at Ballymaloe House Hotel at the time, left a voice note on my phone, a voicemail saying, "If you'd like a Saturday job, we'll pay you." I was so happy. I still remember where I was standing when I heard that message. And that was really a turning point for me. Suddenly, something that I was doing as an amateur and a hobby, I had to turn up on time and work a shift. And I was in a professional kitchen with a purpose, in the pastry kitchen, and it was exactly what I wanted. Yeah, and that's really when I became part of the team at Ballymaloe. Up to then, I was looking from afar. My mother had sent me on 1 or 2 cookery courses there. And, suddenly I was part of it.
You've been there since you were a teenager.
Yeah, so I got a job there when I was 16.
That's remarkable. And you never left for another job?
I've been in continual employment at Ballymaloe for 22 years.
Amazing.
So for someone my age, it's quite unusual to be so committed to one thing.
We'll be right back with today's guest.
Today's episode is presented by the cookbook Family Style by Peter Somm. From culinary creator, lifestyle expert, and award-winning fashion designer Peter Somm, Family Style is a stunning cookbook of more than 100 recipes with unique and creative flavor combinations, paying homage to Peter's identity, heritage, and family. There are beloved nods to Peter's grandma's Cantonese flavor profiles, his mom's deep love of French food, his Bay Area upbringing, and desserts that are not too sweet, the highest compliment in his family. For Peter, nothing is quite as satisfying as the moment when everyone is gathered around the table and platters of food are set down for everyone to dig into together. The Family Style cookbook is perfect for an everyday meal at home, but it's also sophisticated, elegant, and visually stunning. Needless to say, it makes for a great gift. The book is beautiful and a joyful invitation to celebrate the flavors of Peter's life. Some standout recipes: burnt miso cinnamon toast, crispy deviled tea eggs, radicchio and fennel salad with creamy miso maple dressing, cacio e pepe sticky rice with egg, and lychee lime pavlova. Pick up a copy of the Family Style Cookbook by Peter Somm at your favorite indie bookstore.
Ballymaloe, I've only been 3 times as a visitor. I mean, it gets in your blood. If you guys said to me you could build a little house on the 100 acres and have, little cat and you can come by and see us whenever, I would build a house tomorrow.
Oh, well, we love when you come, so you are always welcome. There's always a bed in Ballymaloe for you.
Do y'all hear that? I'm writing that down.
No, you have it in writing, yes. So in the early days when I was, turning up for the shift, you may never have met Myrtle Allen.
No, I never met Myrtle, but tell everybody about Myrtle.
So Myrtle Allen, she was born in 1924. So if she was alive, she'd be 102 now. And she passed away in 2018. At the age of 94. She was a remarkable person in Ireland. She opened Ballymaloe in 1964, so this predates a lot of movements around the world when you look at what was happening. Chez Panisse, for example, in the West Coast, more listeners might know of there, opened in 1971. So before these movements were happening, Myrtle Allen, she was 40 years old, a mother of 6, decided to open a small restaurant in the country house on their farm. The kids had gone to school, and the 2 years leading into it, she had been writing a food column for the Farmer's Journal, which to this day is still the most widely circulated agriculture paper in Europe. So her friend, Paddy O'Keefe, was the editor, and he asked her would she write a column on lifestyle. And she said, "Oh, what do you mean?" And he said, "Oh, well, there's beautiful paintings in the house. Maybe you could write about those." And she said, "Oh, well, it's actually my husband buys the paintings. His passion was art, so he'd buy a painting if he could at the end of the year." And she said, "But maybe I could write a cookery column." So these 2 years of writing her weekly cookery column, and her friends convince her to open a small restaurant. But unusually, she decides to do it in Ballymaloe House. So Ballymaloe House is a very large country house located on the Ballymaloe farm. So it's the name of the townland where the building is. And at this point, the idea of opening a restaurant in a rural part of Ireland in your house wasn't really the done thing. So she was breaking a lot of rules at the time. And having never worked in a restaurant, she hadn't learned the industry standards. So a lot of restaurants would have run the same menu. Most menus were French, if you were trying to be a smart restaurant, which is what she was aiming to be. But her experience was cooking from the produce on the land, her neighbours and what was available, most importantly, what was seasonal. And that's really what set her apart. So she would write a daily menu based on what was available. And sounds like common sense, but actually people weren't really doing this at the time. So she focused on flavour, provenance, variety, and what was around her. And she never overlooked what was in her field. I mean, now you can label as, sustainable, and there's so many things you can superimpose onto it today that we're still grappling to do in the world. But she felt that these things are really important. So she opened the restaurant, very small operation to begin with. But eventually the word got out. People started coming from the UK and further afield. She got rated in the food guides. So I was just very inspired by this story. So when I started working at Ballymaloe as a teenager, I remember the very first time I met Myrtle. I had heard about her, and we all call her Mrs. Allen. She had come back from Dublin, and she was at the top of the kitchen, and she had a place where she would sit and have supper most evenings in the kitchen. And she picked up the menu that night. And I had read it an hour before, and there were things in it I'd never heard of. There was lemon verbena sorbet. I didn't know what lemon verbena was then. There was lobster and something. I'd never eaten lobster. So she picks up the menu. I thought, what is Myrtle Allen going to order? What could it be? And then she says to Jason, the sous chef at the time, lovely menu tonight, Jason. I'll have a poached egg. And it blew my mind, because my favourite thing to eat was a poached egg. So I immediately felt a connection to Mrs. Allen. And a silly story, but it really resonated with me. And little did I know we'd go on to become very good friends. And over the years, we cooked together, we'd travelled together. And she just deeply inspired me. She really left an imprint on me. And she taught me the importance of doing the things that make me happy.
Wow. What are some specific things you learned from her? I mean, you told us all these things that she valued and brought to Ballymaloe House. But do you remember some specifics?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's more the overarching things. I watched her time and time again make people happy. And the reward you can get from making people happy is better than anything else you can experience in life, I feel. And that then became my motivation for cooking. Sometimes, you're a chef, people say, where does your inspiration come from? And for someone, it might be that they see a particular fruit or they try a new type of chocolate. But for me, it's when I meet people and I try to think, what could I make that would make that person happy? And I learned that from Mrs. Allen, because she would look at the guests who would be arriving that week, how many nights they might be eating, and she would carefully plan the menu to make them happy. And that I found remarkable. I didn't know you could do that in a restaurant. And I like to think like that when I'm planning my own menus. I look at who might be there. What night are certain guests arriving? I might know what their favourite things are. And I wanted to be there for them. So really, that's the main thing I got from her. And it's left an imprint on me. That's
so beautiful. Is it fair to say Myrtle was the mother of modern Irish cuisine?
Yes, she shone a spotlight on things that people in Ireland were overlooking at the time. Now, of course, not everyone. There was always people appreciating what we had, but she amplified the voice around things that people thought were ordinary. The mackerel caught on the day that was foamed in Irish butter. People were eating that at home, of course. She didn't invent it. But she told people that this was as good as foie gras. This was as good as the other things you think you need to have. It started a reevaluation of what the country's food basket was. And she really believed the produce at home was wonderful and showcased it so proudly. And I loved watching that. So even though I got to know her in her 70s through to her 80s, to the end of her life, to see the consistent message and that sort of sense of belief that, the family table is the restaurant table and this is where we all eat. I just loved that.
I love what you said about learning how to make people happy from Myrtle, because I have been in the room when you walk in and make the whole room happy. I mean, you are somebody who lights up a room. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that.
I mean, you really do. You just did the counter takeover at King Restaurant. You and I were talking, and I looked around the room, and I was like, literally everybody wants to talk to JR. I was like, JR, we have to stop talking because everybody here wants a piece of you.
Well, fortunately, quite a few friends turned up, and I just love coming to New York to begin with. I've been coming over.
The room was packed.
So I've been coming over the years. I've gotten to know a few people. So to have an event like that where people could, turn up, have a pastry, have a coffee. It was informal, sort of a light lift for the participants. And we even had a pot of bubbling Irish oatmeal.
Oh my gosh. I'll set the scene for everybody. So King Restaurant, hopefully you all know we love King Restaurant over on 6th Avenue in Soho. Jess and Claire and Annie, they've been on our cover.
Dear friends.
Their restaurant. They do a thing called the counter takeover in the mornings, and a culinary friend will come in and literally take over. I thought there would be maybe, I don't know, some biscuits and the oatmeal or porridge we had been told about and some good coffee. But no, because it's you went to town. Can you walk us through everything you made for the counter takeover?
Well, I suppose we couldn't resist, could we? We thought, well, if it's going to be a morning time event and people might pop in casually and grab something on the go, or maybe someone's going to sit down with it. Well, there has to be a bit of variety, and it's got to feel a little bit like maybe you're peering through a window into Ireland. So we had a bacon and egg pie. We love bacon and egg for breakfast at Ballymaloe.
Okay, that pie, it looked like a king cake. I thought you had made a king cake because the top of it looked like one.
Yes. So that was carefully scored, sort of like a gâteau pétivier or galette de roi, to exactly emulate that. I love doing collaborations with friends, and it's lovely when you go into their restaurant and you see what produce have they got. We're in the depths of winter here in New York. We've just come out of a snowstorm, and you go into a kitchen like King, and the produce is dazzling. And they've got these gorgeous bitter winter leaves. So, yeah, we served some of those lightly dressed alongside the pie, which I thought really kind of turned it into something. Then we had some sweet things. We had chocolate churro crackling. That was like the fancy item. I thought, for the person who might be let down by some of the simpler things, that's the thing they wouldn't make at home.
And that's essentially a cream puff.
Yeah,
Correct,
exactly.
but a fancy one.
Yeah, with sort of crispy biscuit crackling coating filled with a chocolate crème, then glazed with chocolate. So sort of chocolate, one on top of the other. So when you eat it, there's nothing unusual or surprising, but it's really satisfying. Yeah, so I thought they were fun. We did pistachio blood orange cake.
And that was gluten-free, right?
And that was gluten-free, yeah. I have 3 aunts who are celiac, 3 sisters. And whenever I do an event, I think, what would they eat if they came along? Again, to make people happy. So I always try and have something that is just as good as everything else in the selection, whatever I do, just for that person, because I wouldn't want anyone to be left out.
And that glaze was gorgeous from the blood orange.
I know, right? The colour was sensational. Yeah, and, peak citrus season. So it was nice to be able to do that. And
tell us about the cake. We'll talk about the porridge in a second.
Oh, the praline cake. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's a cake. So for anyone who wants to come to Ireland, please come and stay at Ballymaloe House Hotel. And when you do check in the afternoon, we offer complimentary tea, coffee, and a homemade cake every day. So this almond praline cake is a cake that might appear about once a week at Ballymaloe House. It's a layer cake with lots of crushed praline baked into the cake, layered with French buttercream, and then you clad the outside of the cake with more of the praline. So you've kind of got the fluffy sponge, the silky smooth icing, and the crunchy outside. Lovely with a cup of tea. That was fun because a few people took that to go, and I thought, they'll bring it to their friend in the afternoon. They can have it with a cup of tea. I thought that would be kind of a nice thing.
And then the porridge. So good.
The porridge. So the oatmeal was brought in from Ireland. So
wait, do you call it oatmeal or porridge?
So porridge is actually when you cook the oatmeal.
Oh,
yeah. So the oatmeal is what I
so when I make
what I smuggled in.
When I'm making my oatmeal at home in the morning, I can say I'm making porridge.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. But, the words they're interchangeable. So the Macrew Mill is our beloved mill in County Cork in Ireland, where they stone mill the oatmeal, and it's got the best flavour I know. So if anyone's going to Ireland, this is the souvenir you bring back. It's only going to cost you a few euros, worth the weight in the bag, because the flavour of this oatmeal is so good. And in Ballymaloe, we serve it every morning in the hotel for breakfast. And we always make it with water. I know in the US, friends love to make it maybe with milk or some sort of dairy. We cook the oatmeal with water and a good pinch of salt. And it's that seasoning that stands up later, because then we serve it with cream and soft dark brown sugar. And for me, it's a taste of home. So it was lovely to have that. And when I was planning the event, I was thinking it's winter time. We want something that's really going to nourish. And we serve that with rhubarb.
When I saw the rhubarb from afar, I thought maybe it was pink grapefruit. And I was like, oh, that's nice. It's citrus season. It's pink grapefruit. And then as I got closer, I was like, oh my God, it's the first rhubarb of the season. I think it's a whole bowl of stewed rhubarb.
I know, right? And the colour was through the roof vivid, like neon. And again, king being king, they got the very best. Jess has all the contacts. So we got some rhubarb from the Rhubarb Triangle in Yorkshire in England. And this is the most famous place in the world for growing rhubarb. It's grown in the dark. They pick it by candlelight. They're basically whispering to the stems. And it stole the show. It was so good. I know.
So good.
I know, funny that the rhubarb flew further than I did, but it was such a special thing. That was a real treat.
I mean, I had tears in my eyes between seeing you. I mean, the weather it was like raining and misty, and you were there, and so many people we love were in that room, and the King girls, and so many people brought their babies, which was really sweet.
I know, wasn't it great?
Okay, I don't want to be mean about the guys and the guy restaurants, but King is a very feminine restaurant run by 3 women, and I'd never been to an informal restaurant event like that where everybody had their kids.
I know, and at one point I had to leave the main room when I went back in. It was sort of like a fiesta. Yeah, I was in my element. And that's why we do those things, isn't it? You want to fill the room, you want to see all your friends having a good time and people being happy. I think if a few more people were happy in the world, we might have less to worry about right now.
I know, you're so right about that.
Yeah.
You had just come from Mexico, where you used to go see the late Diana Kennedy all the time.
Yes. So something I often say about myself is that I've often gravitated to women born in the 1920s. And through my life, I've always connected with very strong female mentors. It's the case in school with the teachers I got on best with. Even in my university days, I always seemed to fall into the orbit of this type of character. Over the years, through my work, I got to know Diana Kennedy. So for anyone who doesn't know her, Diana wrote very important books in the 70s, 80s, 90s about the regional cuisines of Mexico. But most importantly, her work was so carefully done, anthropologically correct, but she wrote it in English. So these are the documents people were referencing to learn about the regional foods of Mexico. I got to know Diana probably maybe 12 or 13 years ago. She passed away 2 years ago at the age of 99, having lived a remarkable life. But after meeting her, she came to Ballymaloe and she invited me to visit her, which started a yearly tradition. So I would make a fruitcake in Ireland, a Dundee cake. So it's a light style fruitcake. I think of this as the gateway fruitcake. There's a lot of fruitcake phobes out there, people who have had, overbaked, really dark fruitcakes. And from that moment, it turns them away and they think, yeah, not for me. The Dundee cake is light enough that I feel it can tempt people back into the room, hopefully. So I would make a Dundee cake, bring it to Mexico and spend a few days with Diana. And I did this maybe 6 years in a row. And actually, I did bring you a little Dundee cake today.
No! Oh my gosh, Jerry, we have to try the Dundee cake. This is so thrilling. Oh, it's a little hefty.
So that I made in Ireland at Ballymaloe and brought it with me. So these cakes travel well. Diana, having been born
JR, you're the best. Thank you.
In the UK in the 1920s, would have grown up eating this style of cake. So I felt like this is something I knew would make her happy by bringing it to her each year. So we became pen pals. We'd email every month. We'd catch up on a call maybe twice a year. And then when it was coming to October time and I was planning my annual January, February travel, I'd message Diana and say, do you want a Dundee cake? And she'd say, come ahead. It became this thing. And through Diana, I made lots of friends in Mexico. The very first time I was at her house, one of her good friends, Gabriela Camara, dropped by. And we hit it off. So then Gabrielle introduced me to some of the Mexico City scene. And before I knew it...
Gabrielle's the founder of Contramar.
Yes.
Contramar.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Like one of my, between it and King, sort of my 2 favorite restaurants in the world. So lovely to be able to name drop them. But
I mean, Contramar, Ballymaloe, and King. What else does one need in this world?
And Gabriella, another dazzling character. When she comes into the room, it draws people's breath. She's just wonderful. And I'm so inspired by her. So lovely to return to Mexico every year and hang out with her and other friends. And yeah, Mexico's become a special place to me, but really thanks to Diana.
Did you and Diana cook together?
We did. So the first time I went to the house, we cooked many Mexican dishes from her books. And it was really fascinating because she had created something very special in her home. She had plants from across the country that she had gathered and cultivated in the 4 acres that she had around the house. So, we'd go out to the garden gathering the things and she'd cook the dishes and explain why that flavour was important. Right up my alley. So I was just sort of intoxicated by Diana. I suppose you could say I became obsessed with her. So I loved this glimpse into her world. So returning over the years, sometimes we might cook a French dish. She might light the wood-burning oven in the outside kitchen, and she'd sweat some onions and brown the chicken and put in a splash of white wine and let it cook slowly. And she had this array of vinegars on the shelf in her kitchen in the window, flavoured with all manner of things from pineapple to sage. And when it would come to dressing the salad, she'd say, go over and pick whichever vinegar you want. And every day you'd try a different one. I mean, for someone with my interests, this was the holy grail. So Diana really showed me so much of what she loved, and it really rubbed off on me.
She was such an original. I think I told you I only met her once, and it was 2015 at Jubilee. And I forget who brought her to Jubilee. Maybe it was Gabby.
Oh, could well be.
Or Dominique Creme, but another major icon brought her to Jubilee. And she shows up halfway through all dressed in leather. I think leather pants, leather jacket, leather hat. And she had a huge knife with her, hidden somewhere.
That sounds like Diana, all right.
In the leather. And I was like,
prepared
how'd you get that on the airplane?
Prepared for all eventuality. You know, she loved her rough exterior, but I suppose spending time with her at home, I saw a lot of sides to Diana that don't often get written about. Mm-hmm. Her sensitivity, her wonderful astuteness, her kindness. You know, of course, when someone has lived a life like Diana and, you know, people are writing about it afterwards, you know, they'll pick the headline bits, but I just thought Diana was wonderful. I'm so glad, you know, we were friends for those years.
You fell in love with Mexico. You continue to go to Mexico. You were there with some friends, and then you came to New York. And I was so worried about you when I woke up the other day because we got a blizzard. We hadn't had a blizzard in forever. And my first thought was but Hillary, who also works with you at Ballymaloe.
Yes, Hillary Quinn is part of the pastry
team. Shout out to Hillary. Hillary was here too. And my first thought was, oh my God, JR and Hillary are here, and they don't have snow boots. They don't have coats. They are so unprepared for this weather.
Oh, I know. No, we're so helpless. Little did we know. And the day before, everyone said, you're going to get to see the blizzard. But actually, funny enough, every time I come to New York, it snows in some way or other. And you'd think by now I would have learned. Not a snow boot in sight. So anyway, friends came to the rescue and lent clothes and dressed us properly and sort of sent us out like the kids going to school, you know, you'll be fine. And we weathered it. But it was really beautiful. It was fascinating to see. And how quick has the city recovered?
I mean, and then we just had snow again and again. But yeah, it's amazing. And what a time for you to be here.
It's great and sort of a fun end to the trip.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you eat anywhere great while you were here?
So over the years, when I've been coming, I've hit a lot of the heavy hitters in New York. And personally, in the last couple of years, I've lost some interest in the fine dining scene. You know, the really expensive meal, the chef concept. And now I just adore the small owner-run neighborhood joint where you can really see the team's expression in the work. So last week I went to Eel Bar, had a wonderful dinner there. I've been having some fun dollar slices actually around the town. That helps to offset some of the expense of the trip I've been on.
Nothing hits like a dollar slice when you really need a dollar slice.
I mean, of course, to name drop King again, I had lunch there last week. It scratched all my itches. I loved it. It was such a nice meal. For the weekend now, if you have any recommendations.
Well, you're staying in Queens, right?
Yes, I am.
Did you go to Rolo's yet?
No, not yet.
Oh my gosh. You have to go to Rolo's. It's kind of the same chef owner operated. Really just one of my favorite restaurants in the city.
Oh, great. And that's just what I'm seeking out now more and more.
You hung out with Jessie Sheehan, host of She's My Cherry Pie. And you two went to Honey's, right? The bakery?
Yes. So we had breakfast there this morning. And my first time there, Jessie's friends with the owners, so they showed us into the back. Such a lovely operation and such a happy team. I loved their products. A laminated dough, kind of shaped like a snail, flavoured with Indian spices. So beautiful and unusual. I thought that was absolutely delicious. The chocolate chip cookies, like absolutely to die for. I've kind of actually taken up getting a cookie in every bakery I go to now. Because over the years, you know, croissants were the thing a few years ago. Now most bakeries you go to, they do great laminate doughs. And the croissant can't get any rounder and it can't get any flakier because they perfected it. So personally, I'm becoming more interested now in what are the varieties of cookies across the city. So each place I go, of course, I'll get some of the laminate doughs, so good for breakfast. Their cookie, absolutely gorgeous.
I don't know that I've had it. I've had their carrot cake. I've had a few other things from them. That giant Rice Krispie treat. Did you get one of those?
I was eyeing those up.
The size of a human head.
But I think for the European palate, they were enormous. So I might get one and share it with you later. Oh, and their layer cakes. I tried the honey cake. Absolutely delicious. There was like a mandarin layer cake. So light, not too sweet. Yeah, no, that's a wonderful bakery.
Yum. One of the reasons you're on vacation right now is because you're redoing the kitchen. Not you personally, but the kitchen is being redone at Ballymaloe House. That must be a huge production.
It's a big job. So just a nod to what I said earlier, Myrtle opened Ballymaloe House in 1964, and we've been continually open in business since then. So over all of those decades, we're the 5th generation of the family. We're kind of entering the 7th or 8th decade of this. There's lots of legacy things in the building that weren't ideal. Walk-in cold rooms that were too small, doors in the wrong place. And over the years, I know, and anyone who works in a kitchen will relate to this, that you make do with a lot of things, or the rack's in the wrong place, or something's a bit awkward. And we knew over the years eventually we'd have to do a redesign, but now is when it's happening. So I've been on a 2-month trip, and for the 2 months I'm away, the builders have come in. They've basically scooped out what was the old kitchen, and they're putting in a brand new one. And we're so excited. It's going to be a great space to work, well designed.
It's going to be like moving into a new house.
Oh, I know. We're so excited. So a shout out to my team, Hillary, Anne and Booney, who are going to be in a few days before I get back, putting the place together again. And we reopen next week. We can't wait to have guests back again. The hotel hasn't been shut this long since the day it opened. So this was a really big deal. But in a day where we're all planning for the future, some projects you might think, we'll get a year or two out of it. But with redesigning a kitchen like this, we're saying, this is for the next 50 years. We're not going anywhere. It's so nice for the team. It's so nice for people who might come and work with us in the future. But it's also, it's great for the food. We're just going to have such a nice space to prepare everything. And it's going to be pretty.
So exciting.
Yeah, we're thrilled.
Can we talk about your dessert trolley for a few minutes? Because
sure.
That is one of the great joys of life, getting to eat all the things on your dessert trolley. I've experienced it twice now. Highlight of my life, both times.
Thank
I
you.
was lucky enough to go to Ballymaloe House, I think it was 2019 with Kerry Gold, and then got invited back on another trip just last year, 2025, and then have visited since on my own. The last trip, it was during the
Ballymaloe Festival.
The Ballymaloe Festival. Oh my gosh.
Which happens this May. So if anyone's coming to Ireland, 15th, 16th, 17th of May, come to Ballymaloe.
Oh gosh, I want to
Food stars from around Ireland, the British Isles, further afield, they're all going to be there. Pop-ups in sheds, dinners in the house.
It was so much fun. Honestly,
and
I know
dancing.
I know a lot of you are thinking about going to Ireland. You tell me all the time. This might be the time to bite the bullet and just go down and experience.
Yes, please. You're all so welcome. Come. There's so much to do. You're going to have a great time if you come, and bring your dancing shoes.
Absolutely.
So you were at the festival last year.
And Kerry Gold hosted a beautiful dinner, and you come in with the trolley and everybody's jaw just hits the floor. You did, you probably remember it exactly, but I think you had just picked the first gooseberries of the season.
Yes, we had. And that's actually, we usually think of the first week of June as when the gooseberries are ready in the garden. But last year we put in a new variety and they were ready. They were just on the cusp of being ready, and I couldn't resist. So I ran out that day and we picked as many as we could, and we made those gooseberry tartlets. Did you like them?
I loved everything. The tarts. Good. There was a beautiful sorbet. I forget what it was pink. I forget what it was made of.
Oh, probably new season strawberry.
Oh.
Because literally the very first strawberries got picked that week.
Then you had a trifle that was espresso jelly.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the white?
That's panna cotta, so that's set in layers. But the magic of that is friends of mine in Kilkenny who are glass blowers at Jerpoint, they blow the bowls for that dessert. And
that was one of the most stunning things I'd ever seen. I don't know how you got those lines so even. But I'm wearing a striped shirt right now. It looked like a striped shirt. It was perfection, the way you did that.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. So, the trolley's been around since the beginning of the restaurant, and it's something that I inherited with my job when I became the head pastry chef. Over the years, we've sort of refined things a little, and, you do have to move with the times, but with something like a dessert trolley, it does pull on the heartstrings of nostalgia, the idea of being able to offer more. And we can serve desserts that would be tricky to serve from a regular restaurant menu. So I love that about the trolley, that each day we can change the dishes. It can showcase what's available. At any point, if you see a picture of the trolley, you know what time of year it is because the produce is on it. So it's really fun to use the trolley. So I'm really glad you enjoyed it.
You narrate the whole thing. You tell everyone. And you can tell you've such a gift of description. Your use of adjectives is great. Even when you were talking about when we were off mic about picnics that you do. You were like, I pick a spot of bouncy grass. I mean, I just love how you describe things.
Yeah, picnicking is one of my favorite things. We were picnickers growing up. The whole Ballymaloe community, Darina, Rory, Rachel, myself, all of us, Hazel, we love bringing picnics. We bring them on trains, we bring them on flights. But I do have a special place at home. And when I have friends visiting, I make a couple of things, put all the rugs, all the soft furnishings from the house go into the car, and we drive to Ballymaloe to this spot of bouncy grass where when you sit on it, you feel like you're floating, you're looking at the Atlantic Ocean, and we just eat some stuff, have a glass of wine, and then head home again. It's one of my favorite things to do.
It sounds like heaven. Next time I'm there, we're going to go on a picnic.
Yes.
Darina has set me up with her picnic. She sent me back on the train once with a picnic that could have fed a family of 20.
Oh my
And it was
gosh.
just for me.
I know. Well, Darina's picnics are world class and world famous. Anyone who is within arm's reach of Darina gets part of the picnic, no matter where she's going.
I think she wanted me to share it with people on the train, and I did try. But
Good.
The Irish are some of the friendliest people on the planet, but they can also be some of the most suspicious people on the planet. So you know those people.
I know.
So
yeah.
I think they were like, they were like, who is this crazy American lady, and why is she trying to share her food with us? So I wound up eating some of it and bringing it back to the hotel. But speaking of the Irish, what the heck is going on right now? Like, Irish culture just continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Jessie Buckley just won the BAFTA, first Irish actress to win a BAFTA for Hamnet.
Happy for her. Isn't that wonderful?
I mean, it was incredible. And who gave her the award? Cillian Murphy.
I know.
Gave her the award.
A fellow Cork man. Fellow Cork man.
I mean, between the actors, the music, I mean, there was always, U2 and the Cranberries, my favorite. And now you've got like Fontaine's DC. You've got Sally Rooney. What is going on?
I suppose in Ireland we feel very fortunate that people are interested in our culture. Certainly I feel like that when I travel. It's lovely that people are curious and they like the lens you look through, or they like the way you can frame something. And, I suppose naturally we're a nation of storytellers. So when people do aim high in Ireland in their industry and they really go for it, they want to tell the story, they want to share it. And I guess there's quite a few Irish people around at the moment,
and
aren't there?
fashion too, like Jonathan Anderson.
I know, right?
Northern Ireland, but
Dior, yeah.
And how do you say her name? Simone Rocha?
Oh, Simone, yeah. And of course, the Roches are friends, and Max's great restaurant in London, Cafe Cecilia. Yeah, I know. When you start naming them out, actually, there's a great diversity there as well, isn't there? Paul Mescal. I know, and it goes on. So, I think
we could just read all the names for the next half hour.
I guess we all feel very lucky, though, that people are interested in the work we're doing, whatever the field might be. Some of us know each other. It's really nice. It's kind of uplifting to feel like you're coming from a similar background in a small place, but you can stand beside the big boys when you go abroad. And I think that's very exciting for Ireland right now. People are enjoying it.
Have you been treated well in New York once everyone hears your accent?
Oh my gosh. I have the best time in New York. And no matter where I go, I love the hospitality here. I assume everyone receives it. Maybe it's the accent, but I get such a buzz from being in the city. Even in the few days that I'm here, I got invited to a party last night by a friend. I start hearing about stuff and people say, oh, you're from out of town, you're here from the week. You got to come to this thing on Friday. And I just love that kind of open arms hospitality that you get in New York. I get a great buzz off it. It's inspiring, actually. And when I go home, I think of the visitors coming to me, and I hope that they feel that exact same thing that I get when I'm here. But it is great fun, and everyone's so beautiful. I'm going around the streets thinking, gosh, everyone's so stylish and suave and fabulous.
That's us.
No, absolutely. I'm single, living on a farm in Ireland. So when I do come to the big city, you're always a little bit hopeful. Maybe you'll make eye contact with the right person. So fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. When you're here next year, we'll do a better job of announcing, that you're here. And,
okay, we'll give them some notice.
Ready to mingle. All right, let's do it an abbreviated speed round so we can get you back outside. And Okay, what beverage do you start the day with?
Oh, usually a coffee. Glass of water, then a coffee.
Okay, not Barry's tea?
No, I'll have 1 cup of coffee in the morning and no more later in the day. Maybe a cup of Barry's tea in the afternoon.
Okay. What's always in your fridge?
Oh, Kerrygold butter.
What was your favorite food as a kid?
Poached eggs.
Dream travel destination?
I was in Japan years ago, but I still dream about going back. I only scratched the surface. I'm going to say Japan for now.
I haven't been. I'm dying to go. All right, final question. If you had to be trapped on a desert island, there's some rules, so don't blurt out your answer yet. If you had to be trapped on a desert island with one food celebrity, who would it be and why? But it can't be Rory, it can't be Darina, it can't be any of your Ballymaloe buddies.
Okay, I think I might say David Tanis. He is one of my favorite chefs, and we've traveled many times. He was with me in Oaxaca last week, and the food that David cooks connects with me so much. I love how he handles the ingredients. I love how he seasons. I love how he thinks, puts things together. So if I was stuck on a desert island with David cooking for me, I would be very happy.
All right, David Tanis it is. Yeah. Lucky David. All right, and lucky us. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming by and chatting with us.
Thank you. It was a real treat to be here.
Oh, and thank you for my Dundee cake. I can't wait to dig into this. It's hefty, this little guy.
Yes. Oh, there's sustenance in those.
Yeah, I can't wait. But I hope to see you in Ireland soon.
Yes.
Ballymaloe.
Yes, come to the festival in May.
My favorite place in the world. Please say hi to Darina and Rory and the whole gang for me.
I will, of course.
All right. Bye, JR.
Bye.
That's it for today's show. Thank you to JR Ryall for joining me. Always a treat seeing JR. And special thanks to Family Style by Peter Somm. Pick up a copy at a bookstore near you. Don't forget, tickets for our Jubilee 2026 conference are on sale right now. Head to cherrybomb.com for all the details. If you loved today's episode, be sure to check out my past chats with Darina Allen, who JR and I talked about, and you can check out the JR episode of our baking podcast, She's My Cherry Pie, hosted by Jesse Sheehan. Joseph Hazen is the studio engineer for Newsstand Studios here at Rockefeller Center. Our producers are Catherine Baker and Jenna Sadu. Our executive assistant is Bridget Pittman, and our head of partnerships is Rachel Close. Thanks for listening, everybody. You're the bomb.